My name's Aron Ralston.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we'll be looking at the most agonizing instances in which people went to unimaginable lengths to survive the harsh conditions they found themselves in.
I was aware that I was now all on my own and that I could no longer expect any outside help.
Ricky Megee. In 2006, Australian bailiff Ricky Megee landed in a perilous situation while driving through the outback to start a new job.
I was travelling through the centre of Australia, which is very desolate, and I stopped to help some people who were pretending to be broken down on the side of the road.
After picking up a hitchhiker, he was reportedly drugged and left for dead. When Megee regained consciousness, he had been wrapped in black plastic and buried in a shallow grave in the outback's wilderness, with dingoes clawing at him.
I actually started collecting rocks from around the dam, and every night when I went inside my humpy to go to bed, to go to sleep, I used to pack rocks up around the entrance, so if I did die during my sleep or overnight, then the dingoes wouldn't be able to get in and eat my body.
Over the next 71 days, Megee was stranded in the harsh desert and mainly lived off eating lizards, snakes, insects, and ants, and even drinking his own urine. By the time a group of local station hands found him, Megee had become, quote, just a walking skeleton, having lost a staggering 130 pounds, more than half his original body weight.
Everybody should cherish each other and every day like it's your last. And to my mother, I love you very much and thank you for all your support.
Joe Simpson. In 1985, British mountaineers Joe Simpson and Simon Yates became the first to scale the west face of the Sierra Grande, but their heroic achievement quickly turned into a nightmare.
We knew a number of expeditions had failed on it. If no one had tried, it wouldn't be quite the same. It was the fact that people had tried and had failed, so we knew it was hard. And my feeling was, well, we'll just do it. We're better than them.
Simpson shattered his leg on the descent, forcing Yates to lower him slowly. However, Yates inadvertently dropped him over a cliff edge and was unable to pull him back up.
Simon! I'm absolutely convinced by 10, totally convinced that I was on my own, that no one was coming to get me.
After hanging for over an hour, Yates had to cut the rope, sending his partner plunging over 200 feet. But Simpson miraculously survived. With a badly injured leg, no food, and little water, Simpson crawled through brutal weather for 3 days before reaching their base camp.
I remember Simon grabbing my shoulders and holding me. I remember that. That feeling of being held.
Though doctors said he would never climb again, Simpson was back on a mountain just 2 years later. Mauro Prosperi. The Marathon des Sables, a grueling 7-day race through the Sahara Desert, is considered one of the toughest foot races in the world. Perhaps nothing exemplifies its difficulty more than the story of Mauro Prosperi.
Stavo perdendo determinate sensazioni che poi mi aiutano sempre a risolvere problematiche durante il tragitto, e quindi io mangiavo durante il tragitto quello che riuscivo a trovare.
In 1994, Prosperi got caught in a severe sandstorm that blew him off course, leaving him to survive alone in the extreme desert. He resorted to eating bird eggs, beetles, lizards, and even bats. And when his water ran out, he drank his urine and sucked on wet wipes for hydration. As his situation grew dire, Prosperi decided to take his own life, but the severe dehydration caused his blood to clot quickly, preventing his death.
Mi ero coricato su questa cappella e mi ero coperto. Nel coprirmi mi è uscita la fede, è scivolata, è andata in mezzo alle dune. E a quel punto ho detto caspita, all'inizio ho detto, evidentemente è il mio destino, anche la fede l'ho persa.
He was eventually found after 10 days, having wandered nearly 200 miles off course.
E lì i 9 giorni è come se fossero stati quei 9 giorni lì che io ero dentro la pancia del deserto e poi sono rinato.
Louis Zamperini. Years after representing the U.S. at the 1936 Berlin Olympics, Louis Zamperini joined the Army Air Force and served as a bombardier in World War II. In 1943, during a search and rescue mission, Zamperini's plane suffered mechanical difficulties and crashed into the ocean, killing everyone but him and 2 other men.
This plane
was barely flying with 4 motors, and with 2 gone, it just dropped like a rock.
For 47 days, they drifted on a raft, managing to stay alive by eating fish and birds and fending off shark attacks. When they finally reached land, they discovered they were in enemy Japanese territory, kicking off another harrowing ordeal.
They took great joy in telling us we were going to be executed, you know, and they'd always go through the motion.
Zamperini spent the next 2 years as a prisoner of war, where he was singled out and tortured due to his Olympic fame. He was finally released in August 1945 when the war ended.
Oh, God, look at you.
Hugh Glass. It's a widely told and harrowing tale of survival that even inspired an Oscar-winning film starring Leonardo DiCaprio. In 1823, while on a fur trading expedition, Hugh Glass was mauled by a grizzly bear, leaving him severely injured. Believing he was going to die anyway, Glass was abandoned by his companions in a shallow grave.
Glass is to be cared for as long as necessary. And a proper burial when it's time. He's earned it.
But he defied all odds. Glass regained consciousness and crawled over 200 miles through rugged terrain, driven by sheer willpower and a thirst for revenge.
I ain't afraid to die anymore. I'm done it already.
To stay alive, he ate raw bison meat, wild berries and roots, and even used maggots to clean his wounds. Remarkably, he made it to safety and recovered, though he ultimately chose to forgive those who left him behind. Uruguayan Flight 571 survivors. On October 13, 1972, Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571 departed Uruguay for Chile with 45 people on board, including an amateur rugby team. Tragically, the plane crashed into the Andes Mountains, killing 12 people instantly.
Yeah, it was a very strange impression to see your friends dead. I mean, they were lying there on the snow, they had the same clothes you had, but there was an invisible line of life and death between you and him.
The survivors were left stranded in the remote, snowy wilderness with barely any food. As the days passed, more lives were lost, and those remaining faced a dire situation. After exhausting their limited supplies, they made the agonizing decision to consume the remains of their deceased friends to stay alive.
And the taste?
The taste is like raw meat from cow or whatever.
For 72 days, they endured extreme cold, an avalanche, dehydration, malnourishment, and the constant fear of death. They were ultimately rescued after 2 survivors managed to trek through the mountains and reach a village.
Yeah, life is more simple than what we think. We really make it complex.
Jose Salvador Alvarenga. This traumatic ordeal began on November 17, 2012, when Jose Salvador Alvarenga embarked on a fishing trip from Mexico with a younger, inexperienced companion named Ezequiel Cordoba.
Fishermen are known to tell a tale, but this survival story defies belief.
Not long after, their boat was hit by a storm that knocked them off course, forcing them to dump their catch in order to navigate better. Now stranded at sea, the men survived by eating raw fish and turtles and drinking their own urine.
Alvarenga describes drifting at sea for 13 months, helpless, beaten by sun and salt, struggling to stay alive.
However, after about 4 months, Cordoba fell into deep despair and eventually died of starvation. Alvarenga was devastated by this loss and spoke to his partner's corpse for 6 days before finally letting him go overboard. In January 2014, after 438 days adrift, Alvarenga finally reached land, in surprisingly good shape given the circumstances.
Describing the moment he saw land for the first time, he says, "I pushed myself away from the boat so it wouldn't hit me on the head."
Aron Ralston. In April 2003, Aron Ralston embarked on a solo expedition to the Blue John Canyon in Utah. During his descent, a large boulder got dislodged and trapped his arm against the canyon wall. He would spend the next 5 days stuck in this position, rationing his limited food and water as he faced what seemed like certain death.
My parents are down on Larry Ralston of Englewood, Colorado. Whoever finds this, please make an attempt to get it to them.
After exhausting his supplies and experiencing a hallucination, Ralston realized he had no choice but to amputate his own arm with a dull 2-inch knife.
I felt pain, and I coped with it
I moved on.
Once free, he rappelled down a 65-foot drop and hiked several miles before being found by a family who helped him get to safety. Ralston's incredible story of survival and determination was later depicted in the critically acclaimed film 127 Hours.
Been without circulation for 24 hours. So, I think it's pretty well gone.
Juliane Koepcke. Born to two zoologists, Juliane Koepcke developed a passion for wildlife early on and gained survival skills in her teenage years while her parents were stationed in the Amazon rainforest. Those skills proved vital in 1971, when Koepcke and her mother were in a plane crash on their way from Lima to Iquitos, Peru.
I remember that we started the day with mixed feelings. On the one hand, we were glad we had managed to get this flight. On the other, we were worried and anxious because Lanza had such a bad reputation.
Koepcke was the sole survivor, falling 10,000 feet into the Amazon rainforest, where she had to fend for herself for 11 days alone.
When I came to, I realized pretty quickly what must have happened to me. I had crashed down in the middle of the jungle and the plane was gone. I tried to get up and could barely manage because my concussion must have been very severe.
Despite severe injuries, including a broken collarbone, a deep gash on her arm, and a swollen eye, Koepcke survived the harsh conditions of the rainforest.
The mosquitoes were particularly bad. They almost ate me alive, as I wore only a tiny and by now torn miniskirt.
She was eventually discovered by a group of lumberjacks who treated her wounds with gasoline and transported her to safety.
He was the first person I saw, and it was as if an angel had come unto me.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into settings and switch on your notifications. The Donner Party. Led by brothers Jacob and George Donner, this group of American pioneers left Springfield, Illinois in the spring of 1846, bound for California. Their journey took a tragic turn when they opted for a new, untested shortcut called the Hastings Cutoff.
Hastings Cutoff had proved not only more treacherous than the older route, it was 125 miles longer as well.
This route led them into dangerous terrain, causing significant delays and leaving them trapped in the Sierra Nevada mountains by heavy snowfalls.
The farther we went up, the deeper the snow got. The wagons could not go.
As the group found themselves cut off from any help, their supplies quickly dwindled and desperation began to set in. In their struggle to stay alive, the survivors resorted to the unthinkable, consuming the remains of those who succumbed to starvation and exposure.
They had fallen from their high estate, though compelled by the fell hand of dire necessity.
Of the 87 original members of the Donner Party, only 48 survived, forever scarred by the horrors they endured.
Don't let this letter dishearten anybody. Remember, never take no cutoffs, and hurry along as fast as you can. Virginia Reed.
How far do you think you will go to survive situations like these? Let us know in the comments below.
You know, the only thing I say that I can't do is clap. But that's kind of my own little joke, which maybe isn't that funny, apparently. So.